All right, joining us here today at Nova Lab Studios in downtown is Art Akopyan. Art, thanks for coming, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Art, so uh, I've been aware of you for some time since our buddy Gaj and our friend Chris too, who's been coming to you for their hair needs for
Kazan Chris,
yeah yeah
of course.
for I don't know, it's been a few years now, huh? Probably.
It's been probably like 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
at this point,
So
brother.
like 4 or 5 years I've known of you and Alverchapes. We have the name to the face, so it's good to see you in
It's my
person, man.
pleasure, brother.
Yeah. So go ahead, Art. Give us your background.
Well, I don't know how far back to take it, but like
Go
I
for it,
guess in
wherever you want.
relevance to
Yeah.
this podcast, I'll take it back to like where my career started
Yeah,
as
yeah.
kind of like a barber. Initially when I was working in corporate America, pretty much like around 23, 24 years old, I was working at a bank. I had started working at a bank after like high school, and I started out with like Wells Fargo, and I worked there for like 3 years, and then I jumped from there to Chase to the West Side, and I worked there for like a year,
Mhm.
and then I went from there to another bank in the same area, a little bit further away from home, but
That's how it is with the bank jobs.
the bank
Once you're
jobs,
in, that's
man,
it.
yeah, you know what it is, bro. Like you just try to keep moving forward because like obviously there is like an attainable level of success
Yeah.
in that industry as well, you know what I mean? But it's just not exactly the lifestyle that I really wanted. At that time, I kind of like sold myself on the idea that working that job would get me the things that I wanted,
Mm.
which, it was kind of like an image that I just had in my head of like what I look good doing, for example,
Yeah.
like doing that job. I remember, I would have to wear a suit, go to like a nice office, drive a nice car and this that, which were all cool things, and not from like a materialistic standpoint. It was just like, growing up, my grandpa always like wore suits in front of me. That inspired me heavily to like always be in a suit and be presentable.
Right.
And going to the bank with my mom when I was younger, at all times I was always involved in like the family business, trying to just like learn things and do things, because my mom kind of forced it on me, but I'm very thankful for that
Right.
now. So, just going to the bank, seeing people working, also wearing the suits, it just kind of gatewayed me into, like working at a bank is, what you want to do. And
Yeah.
it's the gateway to where you want to be eventually doing like financial advising or
Mhm.
something like that, but it was a cool way to enter the business world. And I'm honestly extremely thankful for the 5 years that I had in that industry because honestly, like there's so many things from that experience that now I apply to my current career, and from like a customer service standpoint, from just like a personal, like personal relationship building, all that stuff came from just daily transactions with random people
Yeah.
who at one point when they walked in were mad because something went wrong in their account, somebody took money or some check that got cashed overdrew their account. But dealing with all that, it allowed me to learn different ways of speaking with different people who come from different backgrounds. And I don't know, man, I honestly can't say like there's anything bad about those 5 years that I experienced, other than just like sales pressure maybe
Yeah.
from like certain positions and whatnot. But I won't get into that.
It's a good because I worked at Citibank for 2 years from 18 to 20. Um, and the lone trepidation I had when I was starting was I don't know how to talk to people. So that was one of the biggest benefits for me ultimately was I learned how to maintain conversation. Because going into that, I only would be able to talk to people that I knew, and it's not like that I was nervous. I was just like, I don't know what else to say. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
what's up? What do you need help with? Cool. And then it's like all I was envisioning was there's gonna be dead silence until I finish. It's like because I was like, I don't care how your day's going. Like I don't want to ask how's your day going, how's this, how's that. But eventually, you just kind of, for me, I just kind of got into it. I don't know how, but because I can see, especially with what you're doing, and as you'll get into it, like it's very beneficial to be able to maintain
Right.
conversation,
Right.
and because then as a barber, it's a it's a it's an intimate relationship, really, because you're doing your hands on like face, head, hair. It's like the presentation of a human being. So that relationship is like I think it's like sacred for a lot of people, right?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think most people would agree that, the relationship you have with your barber alongside with the experience that you have at your, barber shop, it is more of like a meditation type of like ritual vibe for a lot of people, because a lot of people come by once a week.
Mhm.
Some people come twice a week. Some people come once every 2 weeks, which, like to everybody who wants to come at however often they want to come, that's up to them. Each their own. But every time somebody comes, they kind of just like shed all that hair, and at the same time they shed a lot of the weight that's on their shoulders from perhaps something that's going on in their lives. And it's just so cool to be able to like literally sit there and split with someone that like normally, like I would say, like the barber relationship to the client, like we literally see each other. Even if you get your haircut like every 2 weeks or every like 3 weeks, we probably still see each other more than like most of your relatives in
That's
reality.
a
You
fair
know what I mean?
point.
In
Yeah,
terms
that's a
of
fair
spending
point.
time, like intimate time, that
Yeah.
like you're actually there having a conversation with someone, and it's mainly about that person's day that's there, telling them about like whatever stressed them out, whatever it was that got in their way that day. It's just like it's a legit just like shedding of weight.
Hmm.
And I think most people would agree that it definitely is that sacred feeling that you're talking about. So
I think generally people look forward to a barber appointment as long as like they have like like you have your mainstay barber. I don't think you reluctantly go.
yeah,
As long as again you have one that you're comfortable with and that you know is good, you're looking forward to it because one, you're gonna look better, and then two, you might be able to shoot the breeze with that guy, right? Especially like you said, when you
absolutely.
have that relationship, and at some point, like it goes from a barber, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, this guy's my friend. It's
Yeah,
like it
I
just
mean,
happens.
that line gets blurred very quickly once you have a couple of drinks when
Yeah,
they're your last appointment,
yeah,
or when they walk in with like a bottle of champagne or something. Especially in the Armenian community,
yeah,
you know how people roll. So
yeah,
they'll pull up with all the goods,
yeah,
and of course that ends up turning into a delightful conversation that ends up turning into somewhat of a friendship that over the years, it's like it's really, again, much more than the amount that you see your relatives. For
yeah.
most of your relatives, you don't see that much. So it's like definitely, a pillar relationship in anybody's life. I feel like, to have like a solid barber to, be able to split with, that they get along with. And, it's not for everyone. I'm not for everyone. No barber is for everyone.
Right.
Everybody has, their own type of person that they like to, split with, or, vibe with. And uh, when that happens and you find that person, keep them, hold on to them, because they can serve a lot of good purposes in your life, and that you can serve a lot of good purposes in their life.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of times where a conversation with one of my clients has like led me or allowed me to think deeper into something that I was thinking about, for example. And I gained a perspective from
Right.
what they just split with me. So they split with me, I take that and like process it, and tell them what I think of it. They get relieved, and then on top of that, I gain a perception that I perhaps didn't have that day, and it allows me to kind of like jump from perspective to perspective, to be able to like understand what's the cause, what's the effect, how could it have gone, how should it have gone. So it's cool, man. It's definitely got like a cool ripple effect. We're here for each other. We're there to like get you through the bad days, but at the same time, there's a lot of great days that you come in, you're already feeling good, and we give you that haircut, we give you that fade, and dude, you walk out of there feeling like $1 million,
Hmm.
and nothing can stop you. When you got a dude, I don't know if it's true or not, but like they say that when you get a haircut, it like somehow creates more like airflow to your brain. Honestly, I don't think it's true, but I mean, it feels that way. That's for sure. Especially when you get like a fresh fade, which most of the guys in our community
Mm.
love fades. The fade is
Yeah.
the haircut to get. So when you get a fade and you get that little spray on the back of your neck that wakes you up, you walk out of there feeling like you're
Yeah.
invincible.
There's
So,
probably some kind of chemical change going on in your
for
brain too,
sure,
because
just the vibrations of like
exactly.
the machines hitting your
Hmm.
head, and at the same time, just like just overall, man, you
Yeah,
just
you're getting your hair washed, you're getting your neck cut, because that's
yeah,
like one of the things. Like it just feels good, like when you're like the neck, like if you're tapering or whatever it is, just that because that the feeling of that razor as you're getting off those like residual amounts.
yeah,
I don't know, maybe not everyone, but like that just as it coming because at the same time, like you said, it's like, oh, thank goodness it's finally getting off of me. Because like especially if you've lagged it or whatever,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm not great with my haircuts. Like I'll go like 2 months,
Dude, as long
yeah,
as you can, bear it, then
yeah,
go for it.
yeah.
Like, you
So
don't
like
look
once I get it,
unpresentable, bro. That's
oh,
for
thank
sure.
you,
You know what I
I
mean?
appreciate
Most guys in our culture, they're like, dude, like my fade is gone. I,
it.
I need a fade. I'm like, bro, you got a haircut a week ago.
Yeah,
Your fade is gonna be there for a good 3-4 weeks. You know, it might not be a skin fade,
yeah.
but it's good enough.
It's funny. It's funny. That's the first person that I remember mentioning they were going once a week to a barber. That's fine. No, it's not like a judgment thing, but it was funny to me. I'm like, damn, you seriously go once a week? That's crazy. They're like, yeah, dude, I just because again, it comes to what we were already saying. Like, it's like I feel good, and it's like it goes from outside of that. It's like I just want to, clean it up. And I guess once you have your routine established, because I don't have quite a routine again, because mine's sporadic. But
Mhm.
when you do have a routine, again, it's something you look forward to, and it kind of helps you kind of be like, okay, now I know this much time's passed. Okay, I'm gonna start looking like this again, and you kind of gauge everything like events and stuff like that. You kind of work it around that
Absolutely,
schedule.
man. Absolutely. There's definitely like some people just it's just literally based off of like events. Like
Yeah,
they know they just got a call from wifey, honey, we have like an event tonight. We have to be there. Blah, blah. You hit up your barber. Hopefully he has a last minute
yeah.
cancellation on a Friday, which is extremely highly unlikely. But we're always welcoming to people hitting us
Yeah.
up last minute. Sometimes we have people fall out, but yeah, man, it's a good feeling to have a good haircut and to walk out, with that confidence.
Yeah.
It's I can't tell you how many times we've gotten comments from like dudes that came through the week after, and they're like, "Bro, like I got laid because of that shit." I'm like,
Maybe they
okay,
like the confidence helped probably of
sick.
looking
Nah, man. One of
better.
them actually told me that the girl straight up told him that it was because of his haircut, and I was like, "Yo, man,
Nice.
shit, like, congratulations.
Yeah.
What can I say?"
It's a good that goes on the compliment wall. It's like someone
Hey, man.
the testimonials. That's
Yeah.
the new testimonial
I was like,
testimonial you
okay,
could throw up
man.
on the
I was
site.
like, if the hair did it, bro, then you're welcome.
So, uh, when you were at the bank, so after that, well, I guess when you started, was that were you thinking this might be something I stick with? Because you were saying like for some people they do like financial advising, whatever. Was that kind of what you were thinking, or it was like a placeholder for you until you kind of figured out what was gonna happen?
Bro, I didn't know it at the time, but it was kind of like a placeholder for me. Like I said, from early in years in my in my high school years and stuff, I started taking college classes early and blah 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 so that I can kind of like get into the whole financial field, learn about it because I really did want to get into financial advising, which like I did a little bit. I got my licenses and all that during the bank years, but I can't say that I had a personal interest in it enough to want to do it for other people,
Mm,
especially given the fact that like when you do it for other people, you become limited in terms of financial advising for yourself because you hold all these licenses and whatnot. So I was like, you know what, man, like this is cool, but honestly, during that time when I was in the bank, after I made my second move when I went to like the west side and I started driving to basically like Beverly Hills area and whatnot to get to work, just because again there was like good network out there that I can like tap into and work with. You have to meet people to like be able to do business with higher like net worth
mhm.
people. And in financial advising, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to advise a bunch of people that want your advice.
Yeah, they also
So
have to have the money to be able to even,
exactly. So I
utilize.
figured, it'd be a good move to go to that area. It was new. I was already kind of over, my current job position. I had already moved up to like 4 different positions, and I was just like, dude, there's nowhere else to go here. It's like I was ready to, bounce. So I made the move, and then I went to Chase. And during that time when I was at Chase, my grandpa started to like have like health conditions. He had like a stroke in his like early 60s, and basically during that time I was working at the bank, and we were dealing with some stuff that uh had to do with my grandfather's health mainly, and that kind of like sparked the whole, let me see if there's something else I can do,
Mm,
you know what I mean? So until uh I want to say like 2014, when 2014 hit, around that time I had already started like experimenting with my cousin Andy, his hair, my brother, my cousin Mike, my boy David, my boy Sam, Arthur, bunch of them, man. All my boys, the wolf pack, basically. They were like my guinea pigs for about like 6 months to a year, and every like Wednesday or every other Wednesday we would get together at my pad. We would cut their hair. I would experiment cutting their hair, and we would smoke hookah, and they got free haircuts, and I got experience, and whatever. So we did that for about 6 months to a year, and then whenever shit hit the fan at the bank, and I was just way over the drive. The drive was insane, dude. Like every day going from like North Hollywood area to Beverly Hills, it was just a
Sucks.
shit show of a
Yeah,
drive.
sucks.
And I made the best of it by listening to music as much as I can. Just I was totally into house music, and I
Yeah.
still am. But like I would just rage in the mornings and just get to work as fast as I could. I would leave my house at like 6:15, because if I left at 6:20, I would be 30 minutes late to work. So I would leave at 6:15 and get to work 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
And at one point when I moved out of Chase and I went to US Bank, I had to like park 3/4 of a mile away every day from where I was working. Otherwise, I would have to pay $38 for parking.
Yeah.
And I was still grateful for the position, and I just gotten brought on as like an assistant manager and whatnot. But again, dude, like the lifestyle that ensued after that entire move, where I went from this bank to that bank to that bank, and I went deeper and deeper into that side of town, it just created like this extra like burden of weight of just travel time that now I had to deal with, just getting from point A to point B so that I can do B to C, and then from again travel from C to D. And in between all that time, I'm trying to manage my life, working out with my soon to be wife. I was dating my girl from when I
Yeah.
was 18 years old, but during those times especially, things were getting serious. I was trying to propose and whatnot. So it was starting to really become like a burden,
It's an
driving.
extended workday
Yeah,
essentially.
dude, it was
You know,
like
if
I
you were
could
supposed to start at 8, now you're starting at 6:15 because you have to get up earlier to get there. And then if you're leaving at 5, now you're kind of wrapping up at like what 6:30. It's like an hour and a
exactly
half both ways to make
exactly.
it.
I was losing 3 hours a day, man, on driving.
Yep.
I was honestly so over it, and I decided I'll start cutting hair out of my garage. I had like this half garage that we had basically, turned half of it into a part of the kitchen, and then the other half was just like a storage room. And my grandpa used to play poker in there all the time with his friends and stuff. But after, he had the stroke and whatnot, that room started to become more of like a junk room. We would just throw shit in there
Yeah.
and forget about it. So once I gained a little bit of confidence throughout that year to, do a haircut, I made the move to, open up my doors.
But what made you go from that to a haircut? Like what made you decide hairs? Was that something that was already interesting to you?
It was interesting, I would see like videos, like just like the top feeling that you're talking about, that
Mm-hmm.
satisfaction that you get at a barber. You get that same satisfaction from looking at random videos on internet about like people getting a haircut.
Okay.
Literally, I've seen so many people that I'm sitting next to that are randomly just looking at a barber haircut video, and I'm like, dude, this is on everybody's feed. Everybody watches this shit. So that definitely made the barber industry boom way more
Mm-hmm.
than it already had, in the past 5-10 years,
Right.
which is when I got into it. But I just see a lot of people that have a lot of interest in that, So I could definitely see how I essentially ended up becoming inspired to get into hair. I mean, as a kid, I would always experiment with my hair, but not cuts,
Yeah.
just different styles. I would, grow it out and do this and do that. But I don't know, man. It was really more just like the desperation of wanting to do something that didn't require me to be, at anybody else's, uh, I guess, will. Like they,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
could basically put their finger on my chest and be like, you know what, you're fired.
Yeah.
And the thing I was seeing with corporate America was that no matter how much I go forward, how higher I get on the ladder, which again, I gained that experience, but I also learned that you have a limited time everywhere you go. So that dream they're selling you, you know what I mean? You're just another number, dude. Don't get fooled for it. You can stick around and take people's shit for long enough to get somewhere. Or you can be really good at what you do, which there's plenty of people in corporate America that are great at what they do and they succeed, so hats off to them. But for me, it was just like, this is kind of like a endless cycle of,
Right.
selling myself short on this, idea of, you know, my ideal, vision of life, and it really wasn't the lifestyle I wanted. So
So you
what
almost like unintentionally stumbled upon
pretty much,
what
man,
you're
there was
doing
a few
now.
conversations with clients. I would like I'm very personable when it comes to talking
Uh-huh.
to I'm just a social person, dude. Like I can talk and it's easy to talk to people
Right.
for me. So I love talking. And when people would come by to the branch and they would talk about, their problems or whatnot, um, it would always, not always, but it would a lot of times end up in like, dude, you need to get the fuck out of here. Like, dude, you don't belong here at all, bro. Like, you need to do your own thing because you, like, because I was always doing my own business from the side too.
Oh, okay.
Whenever I was working in the bank, like, from the first couple years, I started like a suit company with my cousins, like, and we were doing suits and bow ties with like 6 spikes on them, and like it was like just a time where
Right.
stuff like that were popping, and it was just cool experience that we
Mhm.
did that we had a lot of fun doing. Eventually we obviously like changed our mind about doing different things, but I always had something on the side that I was working on. So when I would talk about it with my clients and stuff, they were like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing here?" But I'm like, "Dude, I got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a living. Obviously, I'm building a business on the side with what knowledge I know I'm trying to obtain, but I'm nowhere near being able to just throw my keyboard out and be like,
Right.
fuck this shit. No, it's not like that. At the end of the day, you can't be emotional, man. That's one thing that a lot of people unfortunately choose to do is like they tend to be emotional with their decision on the moment, and then they make an emotional decision, and then they fall into a reality because of this decision that they no longer can take, like,
Yep.
step back from, and then unfortunately they have to deal with that, you know what I mean? And then they get upset that they fell into this. Well, it's like, dude, you knew where you were, you were here, and you knew that you needed to go here, and you knew that there was a path to doing that, but you decided to say fuck the path, have an emotional breakdown, feel really good for like 10 minutes, screaming your lungs out
Mhm.
or whatnot internally, or however you dealt with it, and then making that decision and moving forward. You could have just, it's kind of funny. Like I thought of this concept after I started to cut hair, because there's this thing called tapering in hair.
Mhm.
I'm sure you've heard, when they say you want to taper fade.
Yep.
So you go from, 0 to 3.
Yeah.
So it's a gradual fade. It's a gradient. And I think that concept applies very heavily in many aspects of life, especially when it comes to making transitions that pertain to, decisions that are going to be influential in your life on many aspects. It's going to change your set mind state, because you're going to be stressing about bills that you normally wouldn't be stressing about, because you're okay with giving away, let's say, 8 hours of your time on a daily basis to earn what you need to earn, to not have that worry. What is money? I mean, what are we doing here? We're basically trading time to earn money, to buy more time without the worry of money, right? So um I don't know, man. Like, we I feel like we have to be really wise with the decisions that we make and the order that we make the decisions in. All it takes is a little bit of discipline with, deciding what move in your path should be next, so that you can make sure you get to your goal without sacrificing things that mean the world to you. You know what I mean? Yes, it's about sacrifice, and you need to sacrifice things, but sometimes you need to sacrifice your emotion too, and suck it up and understand that, like, dude, the reason you're in this position right now that you're complaining about is because at one point in your past you wanted to be in this position. You know what I mean? So you can't, just because you changed your mind at this moment, be like, you know what, that's it. I'm done. I'm gonna, you can do that, but again, you're going to experience hardship, and you're going to, you know have to deal with things that all of a sudden arise, because you're kind of interrupting the flow of your life, where the income goes from, your overall routine, like all this stuff, which again, man, sometimes that's necessary too. I'm not saying that that's a bad way to do it, but if you can do it a little bit more calculated and exercise a little bit of discipline, you would help yourself a lot more in succeeding, because you would kind of rule out all the things that would become barriers eventually if you didn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, patience is very imperative in those situations because when you end up acting on the emotion and the impulse, like you said, those decisions that you make in that split second might end up lasting who knows how long. it's definitely not going to last a split second. It's going to last a lot longer than it took you to make that decision.
Exactly.
Where if you bide your time, kind of how you did, like you said, you had your own thing on the side because you kind of already kind of felt like, maybe this might not be it. So you had your own thing on the side that you were a little more thing about. And then eventually that's not what you did, but it led you into something else. Now, what if you, as soon as you and your cousin thought of that thing, you're like, you know what, this is it, bro. This is what we're gonna do. You just left the bank. A few months later, like, oh man, this blows. I don't want to do this. And then what?
Exactly.
And then what are you gonna do?
I'm sorry, bro. Like I don't have the ability to lean on, family like that. Like my
Yeah.
parents created a good living for us in terms of sending us to private school when we were younger. You know what I mean? They didn't drive the super ultra nice cars and whatnot, but they did whatever they could to create a good living for us. They created a great experience for us while we were growing up, by just setting a good example of, good parenthood. And we grew up with my grandparents. My great grandma was in my household, and all that just like it I guess it feeds into, being able to like look at life the way that we're looking at it and making decisions that we're making them the way we're making them. Because I guess we've just I mean, grown up seeing the exercise of discipline, of making your moves a little bit more calculated by heeding, our parents, advice. At
Hmm.
the end of the day, they've been through shit, they know what's up. Things may change in terms of how, like things may change, but everything is still the same, if you know what I mean. History repeats itself,
Yeah.
and they know what they're talking about. So with a little bit of like, guidance and just remembering what our parents taught us, or our uncles taught us, our aunts taught us, you know what I mean? It's a lot easier to make decisions the right way. And it also takes a lot of hard work, man. You can't just wait for that moment to come and then just you also have to put in double the work. You know what I mean? Whenever I was working at the bank, I again, I started cutting hair at the same time while I was in the bank. So my initial, hours when I first started were from like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I would cut from 6:30 p.m. till like, well, I started off at like 7 p.m., 8, 9, 10, and
Hmm.
then it went all the way to 1, 2, and then eventually I was cutting to like 2 a.m.,
Dang.
every day. Because people, when you're cutting hair for 20 bucks or 25 bucks in a garage, and you're at the convenience of your schedule, you could literally just, anybody that hits you up, be like, yeah, bro, come through. So, people would come, dude, $20 haircuts, $25 haircuts, 2 a.m., fuck it, I'll take it. You know what I mean? I need it.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, man. If you make yourself available, a lot of people will come. But, after doing that for about 6 months to 8 months, simultaneously while working at the bank, it got to a point where, dude, I was
Fried.
drained, bro, literally drained. The day I quit was actually the day I ended up rear-ending someone on the mountain on my way to the west side.
Mm.
I was behind someone in front of a stop sign, like 2 cars behind, and then I fell asleep on the wheel, and my foot just fell off the gas. Like, thank God it wasn't an actual accident. Nobody
Yeah.
got hurt. Thank God, that nothing like that happened. But it was just a very, very like powerful wake up call to me that, like, dude, this could have ended
Literally.
up so bad, and you could have been on the top of this hill when you fell asleep. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, and a lot of people around me were telling me, dude, you're like, you don't look like you're getting enough sleep and blah blah blah. And like, I'm like, dude, whatever. I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? But yeah, I did know what I was doing, but at the same time, it wasn't a healthy way to go about it.
It's a long time, 6 to 8 months going with the schedule like that.
Yeah, yeah, man. It was hard because especially I had just gotten that position at US Bank, and like, I was working my ass off over there, but sometimes like I'd fall asleep in the break room.
Did they know
And
you were doing that on the side? The
they
hair.
did know, yeah,
Oh,
they
okay.
did know, and they were cool with it.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't bothering,
Yeah.
I was still doing my job there, but it definitely started to get in the way towards the end of the 6 to 8 months because it started to affect my, ability to, be awake during the
Yeah.
day, dude. I'm telling you, I would sleep in the break room during my break, and then sometimes I would, wake up, dude, like way more tired than I went fell asleep
Mm.
in that 30 minutes, and it would be so hard to go back to work. But it is what it is. And during that time, after I came to that last point where that incident happened, I was just like, you know what, man. Um, I pulled my boss, told him let's go to the office. We went in there, and I
That
told
same
him
day.
that same day, and I was like, look, man, I was like, I really love everything you've done for me, and the opportunity you've provided for me to be able to come here and learn and do all this, but I can't do this anymore. Like at the same time, I feel like I'm cutting myself in half, and it's starting to really become a big problem. You know what I mean? I don't want to deal with that every day. So he was like totally respectful about it. He's like, dude, I totally, respect that. And I agree. And, he was totally cool with everything. So it
That
really
helps.
put me on such a like motivated,
Yeah.
tip to kind of get up there. And dude, like you got the approval from the person that you just let down essentially, which like, yeah, it's not letting down. It's a job, it's corporate America. People come, people go. But again, it's just like, I was there, ready to kind of like
Right.
take that career to the next level and stuff. And then I just felt bad that I kind of changed my mind, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna cut hair. But again, dude, like until I didn't have clients slammed till 2 a.m. like on most days, and then on the weekends have clients until like even later. Um, I didn't quit my job because again, there is an income that I'm making from this job that's you know uh feeding me, feeding part of my family, or like, paying my bills, taking care of like just carrying my weight, dude. I
Hmm.
can't expect anybody else to carry my weight. So, um, I, I'm glad that, I took that time to basically fulfill that schedule. And then, when I got out, I was already, covering whatever I was making from the bank from cutting hair and some. So it made up for it. And I was like,
Right.
all right, now is the time. You know what I mean? So then I just kind of worked on opening up the rest of my schedule, and people started booking, bro. So like people that would only limited to come from 6 p.m. and on, now they're like seeing appointments available at 8 a.m.
Hmm.
and 7 a.m. and like, I would start early, I would just make all the hours available, and eventually it got to a point, bro, where thank God everybody just loved the service, everybody loved the experience, and they started coming back more and more. And it got to a point where I was able to kind of just move out of there. I was the garage was basically you know where it all started. We just painted, I painted the walls because like the walls were really, really messed up, but there was like holes in them and stuff. So I decided to paint it, and then after I painted it uh, a few rounds, it still wasn't covering. It was You would still see holes and all that. So I just grabbed the black paint and I like splattered it on the white wall, and then I grabbed the white paint and I splattered it on the black wall because I had done one of
Uh-huh.
each. And I realized that the splatter texture is actually hiding the holes and stuff, so you can't see anything like that. I was like, oh, sick. So I grabbed that and I started going crazy on the whole place, dude. I literally splattered the entire room. It was literally maybe a 150 square foot room, with like a high ceiling, like a 50, like not 15, like 12-foot ceiling or 13-foot ceiling. And that place, dude, it was the place where all the, you know, creativity was born, pretty much. You know what I mean? I've always had that creative touch and whatnot in my mind, just with like with style and whatnot. But when it came to cutting hair, um, especially out of a garage, it required me to kind of create an environment that I wanted to cut hair in, and I also wanted my clients to enjoy. You know what I mean? I always enjoyed that art aspect of everything. I always wanted to mess around with spray paint, or design
Mhm.
something, or like create furniture or something like that. So this kind of allowed all that to manifest. So
So you said because you were initially testing it out, right? You said on your cousins and friends. So that was that testing period. Says you said was like 6 months to about a yearish.
yeah, yeah, it was closer to like a year.
Okay.
Up until then, like closer to the year, like towards the end of the year, my wider group of friends had started to like
Okay.
come, and I was experimenting with them. So I had like a beta,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
underground,
Yeah.
like
I
my
got you.
friends only.
Hmm.
Like if I'm gonna fuck up your hair, you're gonna
Yeah.
be my friend, and you're gonna make
Yeah.
sure that yeah. But
Yeah.
thankfully, man, yeah, dude, I had a lot of people that were just like, you know what, dude, do it. And now that this whole quarantine thing happened, and I see how willing people are to let random people in their family cut their hair, I'm like, oh, dude, so no, but back then it was way different, man.
Yeah.
Like, people letting you cut their hair is a big deal. So my cousin Mike, I actually took his sideburn off one time, and that was before I knew how to do a
Yeah.
taper. This guy had to walk around with a hat for a legit, like, 2 weeks because tapers weren't existent.
So then, from when you started on the testing to when you left your garage was approximately what, like a year and a half, 2 years? Then does that sound about right?
When I started what?
When you were testing, like when you just started like testing on your
Yeah.
cousins and friends, and then until when you actually left the garage, that was about like a year and a half, 2 year total thing.
Um, yeah. So no, when I first opened up my doors, in the garage, and like I opened up my like client
Hmm.
list, and I basically started taking new clients. I did that for about a year and a half out of the garage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so for about a year and a half, we moved from one garage to another garage because we moved houses in that
Hmm.
period. But again, it was just one
Right.
from garage to garage. And the second house that we went to and we moved in there, the garage and the backyard were like together. So we had a ping pong table. So over there, it really started to get, crazy. People were coming by and they were staying till like 2 a.m. playing ping pong. Dude, I had clients that were coming at like 7 p.m. and they would stay till 2 a.m. playing ping pong with the clients that were coming in at 1 a.m. I'm like, dude, this is madness. That ping pong table got way out of hand, so we got rid of it. But it's looking to make a comeback in the new shop. Hopefully, with limited,
Limited hours.
limited hours for sure.
Put a coin slot in
Yeah,
there.
but that second garage was basically where my brother started to cut hair. He, for the longest time, I was kind of like on him. I was like, yo, you should start too. You should start too. But he was kind of like hesitant to like get into it for his own reasons. But eventually, he caved and he was like, I'm down with this. And I was like, sick, because honestly, I can't think of a job that you could have better than this, where you have your own schedule, your own clients, you deal with your own people, that you have full control of who you want to deal with. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can't be too picky in the beginning, because I call it like the bulk up period.
Mhm.
But during the beginning, you're kind of just like trying to take the experience, and you're also trying to take the possible, relationship that could, turn into either 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it is. Like that person, if they like you, they're going to come back. You know what I mean? So it's all about accommodation, especially in the barber industry. It's all about being accommodating, being respectful of people's time. That's one thing that we always, put very, very big, like a lot of our attention on, is that you have to be respectful of people's time, because, if you're giving them an appointment and they're coming with an appointment mindset, then they're expecting to be in the chair within that 10 to 15 minutes, which, even if you wait 30 minutes, dude, like at a barber shop with an appointment with, like, thing is, it's run by guys, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if each guy is 5 minutes late, that puts you 30 minutes behind, and, it's still not unacceptable. But we still do our best to try to, like, make sure that the time is respected. And, when you come through, you wait 5-10 minutes, you sit in the chair, you have a good experience, and then we send you on your way feeling good, feeling, confident, feeling healthy, feeling everything, all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was you, and then your brother got into it, and now your cousin's part of it too, right?
Yes, yes. So actually, my brother and my cousin started going to school around the same time. While I was cutting out of the garage, my brother started going to school, and then my cousin shortly after that started going to school as well.
Barber
And
school or just regular
barber
school?
school,
Okay.
yeah, barber school. They both went. They did the whole 9 yards. They got their hours, and then they went and they got their license. And by that time, I had made my first move into my own live work studio. It was in NoHo Arts District. So I went there. I basically moved out. I was like 24, 25, 24 and a half. And when I got in there, I basically had the upstairs floor for my living. So I had my bed and all that stuff. And then the downstairs floor, I turned it into my studio,
Mhm.
essentially. So I had all, my barber chair and like my kitchen and whatnot. So when I went in there, I kind of realized that my lifestyle naturally, just already from the garage, it was like that because I was at home, obviously. But my lifestyle started to get kind of integrated with my concept, the concept that people are coming and experiencing. So it was in the loft. It was a different experience. It was a private experience. It wasn't like going to another barber shop. It was just you and one barber. And then eventually, within like 5 months of moving there, we added another chair for my brother because he was pretty much done with barber school. So my brother started cutting with me, and then we basically just started building our clientele. I mean, he started building his clientele there. I was kind of already working with a lot of my clients, but I had a lot of overflow. So my brother would accommodate some of my clients, and then he had his own clients that were coming to him, like brand new clients. So it was really cool that we kind of made it a statement with our shop that, look, dude, it's if it's me or if it's my brother, if it's my cousin, it doesn't matter, bro. Like, we're all cool with everything. Don't worry about it. If you can't make it or I can't make it, I can't get you because I'm booked. Don't feel hesitant to book with my brother or for my cousin, because at the end of the day, bro, like, we break bread together. We're brothers. We got each other's back no matter what. So there's no mine, yours, what's this? Like, that mentality doesn't exist. That scarcity mindset is like the most outdated concept that, people still unfortunately uh you know have, but there's no scarcity. You know, there's enough to go around for everyone, and I'm not happy having anything alone. So I want everybody around me that I love to be happy and have what they want. You know what I mean? Whether it's materialistic, whether it's spiritual, whatever it is, I want you to have what you have, and I want to do whatever I can to make it a little bit easier for you to get what you want using my environment. You know, like if my environment helps me succeed, I'm sure it'll help you succeed if you want to be there. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very happy and blessed that, you know, it became somewhat of a family business. You know what I mean? And my brother is my partner. He's my everything. I split with him. I break bread with him. You know, I'm there for him no matter what, and he's there for me no matter what. And so is my cousin Andy, Andy Truesdale. He actually just opened up his own version of a studio. He he was working with us at Splatterhouse from the very beginning. Whenever I moved out of the garage and went to the loft, he eventually came and cut upstairs. We had like a little room upstairs that we set up for him. And then when we got the second loft, it was all three of us, full blown. So you know, we cut together, we vibed together, we grew together, we learned together, and now, you know, his time came for him to create his own version of whatever it is that we're doing here, and we have he's got our full support, we have his full support, and you know, we can't wait to see what he's got in store for us. You know what I mean? Finally, we get to sit in a chair of somebody else that, you know, is trying to create a different experience, and we want to be able to sit there and support that because we had so much of the people in our community come through and relentlessly support us. You know, granted, of course, they love getting their haircut because they look good, but it doesn't matter. You know, they could get a great haircut and not come back because, you know, they didn't vibe with us.
Yeah.
But carry the vibe is the rule of thumb for us. You know, just come through, don't bring no drama, don't bring no, you know, bullshit. Just come through, have a good time, share the good vibes, and have a great day. You know what I mean? We'll see you next week or
Yeah.
next couple weeks.
That's I don't think it's that common though that the situation you guys, had leading up to your cousin leaving where you're very willing and comfortable to be working together where and you're like looking forward to it, right? Because a lot of the time it might start like that. Like
Yeah.
with specifically I'm talking about family business, right? It starts off in everyone's mind a great idea, right? With uncle, with dad, mom, whatever, whoever, whatever, some kind of familial bond, whatever it might be. Because at some point it's because it's a business and then you have your family ties and then when it starts to blend it gets messy. So the fact that you guys were able to still keep those things separate and be this optimistic and this positive about the entire experience is not common, especially within our, I mean, any community, but especially with our Armenian community. I know plenty of family businesses, friends and stuff where they so and so started and then they're nuts.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that does happen in our community.
It's not even unique to us, but still, like
Yeah.
the
No, it
fact
happens in
that,
every
yeah,
community.
the
Yeah,
fact
for
that
sure.
you guys were able to maintain such a supportive feel for each other, because now let's say you guys were even together you guys were cool, but then your cousin like, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing now. Easily it could have been in a different scenario, like the hell do you mean, like
Yeah,
we have
yeah,
this
yeah.
thing with
Of
us three,
course,
now you're
of
gonna
course.
leave, like what the hell's that all about? Instead it's like, dude, awesome, good luck, man, like, we'll be there.
Dude, regardless, bro. Look, man, it's again, man, it's that scarcity mindset that doesn't exist in us. The word we have for it is actually tattooed on my chest. I have it right here. But it's called
I'm blind, I can't
uncommon
see.
wealth.
Oh, okay.
All me, my brother, my cousin, my other cousin Mike, we all have this tattooed on our chest, and it's the meaning of this word is basically exactly what it says, uncommon wealth. It's the type of wealth that money can't buy, and it comes from the years that we've experienced living in the presence of great human beings like our parents, like our peers, you know, our grandparents, and living with them in the households that we grew up in. We somehow managed to scrape away enough knowledge to have this mindset towards each other. And I'm glad that this is starting to become something that's sought after because in our community, like you said, man, I've heard so many stories where people are talking shit about, oh, you can't do business with family. You can't do this. Look, man, I understand. There's limits to everything, every type of business you can do with family and what you can't. And that's all based on how you decide to do it with your family or how not. But for us, it's a very simple understanding, man. Like we want the best for each other, and the best for you is what's best for me, and what's best for me is best for you. Um, if I can do anything to make that easier for you, please let me know. If you can do anything to make that easier for me, I'll let you know. Cool? And that's about it. You know what I mean? There is no it starts to get all tangled up into different emotions when, expectations start to get built and there's no transparency. But with us, even before we started working together with my cousins, with my brother, it's always been like we look at each other one time and we know exactly that one of us has something to say to each other. And if there's ever some type of disagreement or something like that, and we get into it, we start fighting, we start, yelling at each other's throats, which that's happened as well. And naturally, you want that to happen because that means that you guys are genuine. You guys are being, yourselves, and you're disagreeing, and you need to hash that out. So our way of dealing with that our entire lives has been, look, let's be transparent about it right now. Let's deal with it right here and let's move forward. And dude, I'm telling you, bro, we've been at each other's throats, but 10 minutes later, we're cracking jokes at each other and, like pissing each other off. But it's never a matter of like holding this grudge and being like, oh, well, it could have been this and it could have been that, but we should have. No, dude, it's like, dude, we're men. You know what I mean? And no matter what, we're family, no matter what. Okay. So flip it, toss it, split it, cut it, drop it, cover it in chocolate, whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, no matter what, you say, if you're family with that person and you consider that there's so much of someone's shit you can take, and if you've chosen to take this person's shit, you need to understand that you need to silence, your negativity towards that person being themselves and creating, let's say, a negative experience for you in that aspect of your relationship. It's like everybody has their, emotions, everybody has their, personality. Everybody has like that one little thing about their personality that at one point, if you spend enough time, it's gonna come out and it's gonna click with somebody else's and you guys are gonna clash. So the resolution is just dealing with it like, a logical person and dealing with it head on without getting emotional about it. You know what I mean? And that's it, man. I mean, it's a simple understanding. You know what I mean? That that scarcity mindset is kind of. I hope it starts to die out more and more because even in business, man, like there is so much out there, and no matter what you do, like somebody can take your look or whatever you're doing, let's say, or a portion of it, or they take their inspiration, but they can't take your vision. They can't take your idea of what that perfect is. You get me? So I don't know. It trips me out that people actually sit there and they worry about like, oh well, if I do this, then people are gonna copy this. It's like, dude, what are you doing this for, dude? Are you doing this for people or are you doing this for you? Like, I'm sorry, everything I've done because I've wanted to come see it come to life. You know what I mean? Strictly because I wanted to see it come to life, because it brings me joy that I was able to bring this concept to life. And if it brings somebody enough joy as well to inspire them to do something similar or something along the lines or something completely different that goes in a completely different direction, dude, I'm happy. I'm happy that this has allowed something to manifest in you that allows you to be a higher level of happy today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That this inspired you enough to accomplish something, getting something from point A to point B, turning an idea to reality, and you becoming happy by bringing that to reality because it means something to you, and you allowed whatever it is that you brought to life means something to now your audience, to your people that you want to talk to. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah, it's you said you have uncommon wealth, but in addition, it's like it's not it's unfortunately it's uncommon sense too, like what you're sharing. Um, because because the bond you're describing is what we have, like with the boys outside too,
yeah,
like so everything you're saying. That's why the whole time I'm going like this.
yeah,
It's
man.
because like,
It's
yep, dude, I hear you 100%. But
just get it,
again,
bro.
unfortunately, that UN is before the word common.
Yeah,
What can be done about it, I don't know, but I think what you mentioned with the family ties, even going outside of that, you can go the foundation where you're coming from, the parents, the grandparents, great grandparents, whatever you're surrounded by, builds this. So you mentioned there was a family business already, right? Growing up, you were part of the family business.
So yeah, my mom was basically like a one man show when it came to the running the business aspect of it. My
Hmm.
dad used to drive, so my dad was in trucking pretty much. He was in contracting for about 15 years
Hmm.
while I was growing up, and then when I became like 15ish, he started to get into trucking. He started driving long distance trucks. So my mom, started to basically do the operation side of it. She started to dispatch. She started to do all the stuff. This was way back before
Everyone
everybody
did it.
everybody
Every
in their
Armenian did
yeah.
it.
So this was like way back then, you know. So she was doing that, and you know, it got to a point where she was managing like 9 people that were, you know, owner operators. Some of them were our trucks, some of them were their trucks, but most of them were just like people who had trucks that needed loads. So my mom was basically taking care of them. So basically during you know, like high school time, she would leave a lot of the billing and like a lot of the dispatch, you know, getting comp checks and this and that, like just so much stuff that were related with that business that naturally I learned because her office was in my bedroom. And every morning at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., I would wake up to her yelling some like guy in Connecticut because they messed up a load or like something. So my alarm clock was my mom because in between those yells, she would start waking me up from 6 a.m. because it took me a while to wake
Yeah.
up. So she'd be like 6 a.m. She'd be like, it's 8 a.m. You know, 8 a.m. I'm like, okay, dude. One time I woke up and got ready. I'm like, dude, it's not even like 7. What the hell are you doing? But anyway, so learning the business kind of came from like her. She started to take trips to Armenia because my grandfather at that time, he was healthy, he was on his feet, and he was building a house for his grandchildren and you know, for his kids. So my mom was going and coming and you know whatnot. So during that time when she was going coming, all the business would basically get dumped on me. So I would have to deal with all the drivers. I would have to deal with all the, you know, like dispatchers, the brokers, and like, you know, all these business people that, you know, my mom does tons of business with, but I don't really know too much. So it was kind of like a throw him in the water and he'll learn how to swim with
Hmm.
sharks. It was that type of vibe, but it's cool again because it taught me a lot about, you know, numbers, about accounting. I learned how to do billing for, you know, at the age of 15, I was doing billing for, you know, an entire dispatch office essentially. So it gave me some good experience that, you know, although I don't really use now, it
Maybe
was
not
just like it
directly,
was just
but
the doing mentality that it
yeah.
instilled, you know what I mean? Like it taught me to do something. And my grandpa and my dad were the same way, my grandma, like everybody around my family has always kind of pushed me to do. You know, my grandpa has always pushed me to do shit for him, like take water upstairs and, you know, bring it back downstairs and go get him something else. Go get him a, I don't know, an ashtray.
Yeah.
Like my grandpa would literally make me go up and down those stairs like 100 times a day, dude. And so I was always kind of like pushed around as a kid, but not in a bad way. Like I kind of look at it in a way of like, you know, they did it so that they can instill this doer
Yep.
mentality. And I'm very thankful because I think it did instill that mentality. You know what I mean? I feel like I do like to do things, and it's because I always saw them doing things in front of me, and it inspired me to do the same. So
That that like what you described is also common thing in our community, right? Where like it's like "Gana Sara, gana nara," you know, like the bring me this, bring me
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
What's interesting to me though is like because I more or less was similar for me too. And like everything, this is the first time we're talking, but everything you're sharing, like I'm straight up aligned with you the entire way. So I
Same.
can tell where, you know, our backgrounds are pretty aligned. So like to me, like everything you're saying makes sense. Like my response to those requests wasn't, yeah, I mean, at some point, you know, being a kid, it's like, "Ugh, Eli, like I don't want to do this again. Like stop asking me. Like I just came from upstairs. Like you could have told me when I was up there, bring this to. Now I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
You're telling me. But again, like at a certain point, when I got old enough, I'm like, okay, there's a reason. It's not strictly to push me around and to use me as a mule. There's that instillment, like you said, of do, and you know, learn and push through. You know, you're not always gonna do what you want to do. So on the opposite coin of that is, I'm just kind of shooting it. So I'm curious what you're, because I'm sure you've noticed this too, where people grown up in a identical environment completely crumble under that, right?
yeah,
So they grow up doing it, and then at a certain age, they just completely turn their backs. Either maybe they shun the family, or they don't shun the family, but they that instillment, what was intentionally like good intention on the family's part of like instilling that in them, just becomes resentment on their end. So
yeah,
then, you know, if it doesn't manifest with the family, manifests elsewhere. Have you noticed stuff like this too, right? Like where it's
yeah.
like,
Of
you know, maybe not
course.
necessarily with a direct person, but like this mentality of like, you know, I was always pushed around as a kid, and now they, you can already tell by the way they behave and the way they talk. It's like, all right, dude, take it easy.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what do you think is like for people like us, like we were able to take what we took away from it was like, no, they're not just using us. There's a reason, you know, they're trying to build us into a functioning adult at some point. And now we start off young. But for some people, like I said, no, it's a complete different thing they take away? What do you think is the switch? Because it's inevitable. Not everyone's going to take away the same thing from every experience, but specifically with this, what do you think is like that switch or whatever?
Um, Honestly, bro, I can't say that while I was doing that at that age, I was thinking like, oh, this is probably because it's
Of
gonna make
course,
me a
yeah.
better person. That didn't even cross my
Hmm.
mind at that time. But I guess like what enabled that to be the case and to eventually lead to me having this perception of what we're talking about and be on this side of the fence is I think like the obedience factor. Like you either choose to obey your parents or you don't. And don't get me wrong, like at some point, your parents' mentality might become irrelevant or outdated
Hmm.
in certain aspects of your life. So you can choose to disobey them and become an adult because part of becoming an adult is made up of, the lies you tell your parents while you're growing up and how much risk you take and how much risk tolerance you build and, how much, you know, risk you really put yourself at. You don't ever want to put yourself at risk enough that you're actually going to end up in a situation where your parents are going to have to unfortunately hear some bad news about you or be heartbroken or worse. So I think the obedience factor um, from a young age, because I always had kind of like two father figures, I always had like two mother figures, the obedience was twice as much, because again, like there was two father figures and two mother figures which are like on and off, kind of like my grandma and my mom were always there, but my dad and my grandpa both worked, so they were both traveling all
Hmm.
the time. But they were kind of like on and off there. And I treated my grandfather like my father as well. Obviously, like he's I love him
Yeah.
to death. He's my grandpa, but um, he, having that double whammy, I guess, kind of always kept us on that tip to kind of always be like, all right, dude, like do what he says, like just because you have two father figures, let's say, and you're catering to both of them, don't start not doing one of their shit. You know what I mean? And my dad was never really like that. He's not the type to like at all. He's the complete opposite of my grandpa. You know what I mean? My grandpa would, if I wasn't around, dude, my God bless my grandma so much. She's alive and she's well, and God bless her. But that lady has walked up and down those stairs more than I can count, bro. That lady used to literally go up and down those stairs every day. But it's again, dude, it's just like the way they are. They're from a different generation,
Mm.
and I'm happy that I saw all that and I experienced all that, and today we're here talking about it. So, um, but yeah, man, I think it's just the fact that like obedience was always around, and it was respected to be obedient to your parents, in my perception. Which again, I had my ways of doing things that were behind their back, whether it was eating too much candy, whether it was not reading my homework. Not,
Yeah.
I disobeyed them a
Yeah.
ton,
Yeah.
bro. It's not like
It's not
but
blind
but
obedience, but
when
yeah.
it came to like they're asking me to do something, I never would say no. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because I would
Yep.
always feel like, don't get me wrong, bro. Sometimes I would bitch and whine about it.
Yeah.
Like especially my grandpa, bro. Sometimes he would make me come stand next to him while we're like he's basically fixing a motor on a car, and he's just making me stand there next to him. He's acting like he's about to make me do something, but he's like, yeah, hold
Observe.
on. But I'm just watching. I'm like, dude, what do you want me to do here? Like, I'm not doing anything. And now I understand that he just wanted me to again learn how
Yep.
to do. You know what I mean? And now because of that, when something's broken in my house or I have to make something or create something, whatever, I don't really look at buying it. I always look at like, okay, I think I can make this.
Yeah.
I can make it my way. You know what I mean? So I'm very happy and blessed that I was able to experience that. And that obedience factor, I think, is what clicks. For that to manifest into what we're talking about today, as opposed to doing it while building resentment. Again, it all depends on obviously how it's put onto the child as well. Like we were kids, we didn't really know, but obviously it wasn't put onto us in a way where we felt, uh, you know, like a, I don't know, like a condescending, like negative tone to make us fearful or to make us resentful. It was kind of just like, dude, we're asking you to do this. We're your mom or your dad or your grandma or your grandpa. Just do it. And that's how I took it. I
Yep.
didn't take it, split it in half, dissect it, and like, oh, are they doing this because they don't
Yeah.
love me?
Exactly.
Like, my mom and dad both, they were both very loving and very, adoring parents, but it wasn't really too much of like the lovey-dovey parenthood with me, and like I never had that with them, but it was always like a firm understanding of like, I got you, I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
you, you love me, I got you, you know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I guess like, some people, if they come from, let's say, a background where their parents were like that to them, for a majority of their lives, and then who knows, dude? Maybe 10 years into your parents' life, nobody really takes into consideration, but your parents are actually people too, and they experience things. And guess what? They experienced a whole different lifetime before you were even born.
Hmm.
So if your parents' life changes and the way they are towards you changes because of what they're dealing with, and they have not enough control at that moment to be able to project a different image in your head, or create a different experience in your life, then at that moment you have to kind of use that moment to give your parents the benefit of the doubt and be like, okay, all their life they've, let's say, treated me this way. They've been very nice and lovey-dovey with me, and this past couple months they've been very, like, moody. Like, I walk in and she won't say hi to me, or like I'll pass by and like I'll acknowledge her and she won't acknowledge me, or something like that. And you start to take it to a personal level with your parents, and it's like, maybe there is something there that you need to deal with your parent and talk it out and get it over with, so that you can both be on the same, eye level. But maybe, just maybe, your mom or your dad is a human, and maybe they're dealing with something together, or maybe they're dealing with something separately that they can't talk to you about. They don't feel comfortable talking to you about, or they don't feel comfortable talking to anybody, around them. It's like, you're not going to know about it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I think when it comes to, you know, all that, you just need to kind of like look at your parents as people too. Grandparents, everybody, bro. Everybody in your life is a human. Everybody's had a life without you, and they're gonna have a life after you. So taking all that into consideration, I feel like allows you to be a little bit more yielding to people when it comes to obeying their request. If it was some random schmuck telling me to go bring him a cup of water, if it was my grandpa's friend that was sitting at our home and my grandpa respects that man, I would never bring up
Yeah,
my
yeah,
even as a kid, we don't really know what pride is, but some kids might have been like, "Oh, no, I'm not
yeah,
doing that," like, but whatever, that's their style. My style was like, dude, this my grandpa respects this man. I'm gonna do whatever my grandpa says for this man.
yeah,
Bring him a cup of water. My dad respects this man. He told me to, bring a setting for him to sit at our table and eat dinner with us. Of course I'm gonna
yeah.
do it. You know
No
what I mean?
questions asked. You just go
No
and do it.
questions asked. So that's pretty much it, man. I
I
think
think you nailed it
obedience.
on the head. I was more or less thinking the same thing. I think it's part of it's probably like a cultural thing, an upbringing thing, and then it's just as you as the being, what are you absorbing? Like how much of it is things that you just kind of get,
Yeah.
and how much of it is just stuff that just bounces off you and goes through your ear or whatever. I think you nailed it on the head though. Because as I was talking through, I'm like, I kind of wonder where I'm at on that. Like, because I've noticed it, but I'm like, I don't know, like, how do I what it is? But the more you talk, I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Bro, you know what it is, man? I feel like with parents, obviously everybody's experience with their parents is different, man. And I can't speak for everyone.
Yeah,
I
of
can only
course.
speak for myself and my own experience. I'm blessed enough to have both parents in my life. And I pray to God that they stay healthy and well to always be with us. But some people come from different backgrounds where unfortunately they don't have that. They, their family was split in half, or their parents passed away. One of their parents passed away, and I have friends who have had that in their situations, and like I can't even imagine what they're feeling. You know what I mean? Let alone try to put myself in their shoes. But just having having, like, parents, and taking their word for what they say, and again, you'll disobey here and there, but just looking at them as a human, as like a person that basically has their own life. Again, you know what I mean? They have their own set of problems to deal with. They have their own emotions that they've dealt with, and there's an entire block of their life that you haven't been a part of for you to even see, let
Hmm.
alone be able to experience and interpret yourself and have your own feelings towards that part of their life, which might cause you to, let's say, sympathize with them more, or it might cause you to not sympathize them as much. You know what I mean? So I think we need to do a good job of allowing our parents the space, just like they allowed us the space when we were growing up to grow up. For them, it's like uh, every day the world gets older. Their mentality, their like ability to stay relevant and stay updated with everything becomes less and more vulnerable, because more things come out, more shit gets piled up into the mixture, and all these new ways of like communication are starting to come out, and all these different like types of platforms are starting to come out where people are socializing on, And now like you're seeing a lot of people in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s starting to be on there too, which honestly I'm very happy about because one of the main things that I think created a disconnect between a lot of parents with their children, especially in the past 10, 15 years, has been the technology. Like you grew up in a household with your mom or dad telling you to get off your phone on the dinner table, which they were right. What I mean? We should have been on our phone, off our phone. But when you start to create barriers between your relationship with your parents or anybody for that matter, just because of the communication medium changing from, let's say, a phone call, which was more common
Mm-hmm.
15 years ago, to now a text, which is way more common, or a DM or a AIM back in the day, you know what I mean? Those things started to become basically barriers between us using that form of communication with our parents because we kind of blocked that up. And obviously, like, I don't think it's a parent's like main thing to be on, social media or Facebook. I mean, I don't know, dude. A lot of them love Facebook and stuff, which is cool. It's their way of staying connected. But I'm so happy that that's starting to happen because it's starting to allow more interaction with your parents on, for example, a social media platform like on Instagram or on Facebook. And that small level of interaction still allows a level of connectivity to remain between you and your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or whoever it is, because at the end of the day, like they still see, for example, your story, you see their story, you're still somewhat intact, and it opens up another form of communication for them to be able to comment on something you posted, or like them to like write something on your wall on Facebook. All that stuff, if it gets phased out, you start to see the relationship between your parents slowly starting to get further and further away from being attainable. And you wonder why. It's because we're starting to communicate on platforms that they're not really using.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now my mom has an Instagram, my dad is gonna have an Instagram, just doesn't know it yet, but just to like have one so that we can kind of like, I use Instagram a lot for business,
Mm-hmm.
and I have my own personal profile for my art and stuff as well, and mostly I just use it very like s- minimalist, some creative
Yeah,
work
yeah.
that I do, or celebrations and stuff like that. But I still love the fact that, again, like my mom is on there, for example, or my dad could be on there, my aunts are on there, my uncles are on there, and I love that because if it wasn't for that, and if it wasn't for them crossing over to this side of the border and being like, you know what, fuck this, we're young enough to be messing with this stuff too, it wouldn't have allowed these different like reactions and interactions to happen. And those reactions and interactions eventually lead to a comment that you have open up a DM with your aunt or your uncle or your brother or your mom or your dad, and then it turns into like, hey, like let's meet up somewhere, let's have dinner, come over to our house or whatever. So it definitely does open up the gateway to being able to spend more time with your parents, and to being able to just create more flow between you and the people that you ultimately owe your life to, and they want every bit of that life that you can give to them. We look for so many people to give our time to on a daily basis, and it's kind of like our human ambition to love to connect with people and to
Mm-hmm.
do and this and that. But when you really look at the bottom line, it's like at the end of the day, bro, it comes down to you and your family, and those people deserve the most time from you, and you deserve the most time from those people. You get me?
Yep.
So
Head on.
all this is basically in pursuit of attaining that, obviously without as much interruptions from financial obligations or from other distractions, business obligations. All this is so that we can attain that and be like, you know what, dude, let's just enjoy each other's company. Honestly, like, we don't need billions, we don't need all this. Like, cool, if God willing that happens, great, but like we're not after it for the money, we're after it for the life that we get to live together. You know what I mean? We don't know what happens tomorrow. We think about it and we talk about it as if it's a sure thing, but unfortunately your life could change overnight. Look at what's happening right now with everything going on. I don't want to get into it, but
Yeah.
dude, life changed overnight for a lot of us. You know what I mean? Especially like for my industry, I moved into my shop um in February, and this was like our biggest move yet. Like, before this, we were in a couple of lofts, like I was saying, and then we moved into a warehouse with my friend David. We basically split the warehouse, and half of it was us with our barbershop concept, and the other half of it was him and his motorsport
Mm-hmm.
concept. Posse is like the shop, and then they
Off
basically
the
have,
five.
yeah, off the five, exactly. So they were doing their, little tester motorsport concept out of there, and it was cool because people were able to come get haircuts while sitting next to like a $500,000 car, like a sick ass build on a GTR or whatever. So it was really cool eye candy for a lot of our clients to be able to come in and have that experience while getting a haircut. And it was really nostalgic because it was back in a garage setting.
Right. Yeah,
When we got that
that's a good
place,
point, huh?
we decked it out, bro, with like a bunch of art. My friend
Yeah, yeah.
Demk, he's my boy. He basically killed it. He put like the stellar wolf on the wall. We love wolves, obviously. I got one here too. Wolves, all over the wall. And then we eventually ended up, when unfortunately Kobe died this year, we ended up doing a mural on that wall as kind of like a goodbye to that space, because we served, a year and a half of our time in that space, spreading good vibes, giving good haircuts, and just, all around having great experiences. So we put Kobe, Nipsey, and Gigi on the wall.
Yeah, I saw that. That
Yeah.
was very, very nice.
And that was like a cool little, goodbye to farewell to that place. But my friend now operates out of there fully. He has his motorsport going out of there and whatnot. But now that we moved into this new shop, basically this was our first storefront release. Basically, we were trying to, for the longest time, I didn't really want to get into opening up a storefront because I didn't really want to deal with like oncoming traffic from random, people that were going to walk in.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I didn't really have the time to accommodate those people. My client list is already full and I'm already accommodating all my clients. Thank God. I don't really have to worry about going after, like more business. But I knew that regardless, people were going to walk in and I was going to have to turn those people away. So before I did all that, I wanted to make sure, we set up the right things to accommodate these people. And I figured the only way to do that, after getting a little bit of push from like the people around me that, were like, you should make the next move, this, that. I was like, you know what, man? I was like, let me just do it. So I decided to get this space. And this space is basically a combination of a gallery with a barber concept inside of the gallery that operates during the day fully as a barbershop slash salon for both men and women. It's a studio rental, so people that come in and out of there, it's daily rental only. So we have different types of artists that are going to be coming in and out of there on a daily basis. We're going to have kind of more of like an academy vibe, so people are always learning and sharing. So you can come through, do your thing, no strings attached, do your work, leave the place looking the way you found it, and respect the space, respect the clients, respect the vibe, and we'll do all the same for you back. And that's what we're doing basically in this new space. The gallery space is going to be fully open to the public. We're going to have different types of nights where we have interactive art shows by different artists. We're going to have cool little music nights where we have vibes going with DJs live. My boy Alex G is going to come through, my boy Aram is going to come through and DJ. We're going to have a lot of cool little gigs that basically allow people to come and take part in the little culture that we're building essentially in the middle of Burbank, Magnolia Park. So yeah, man, we got this place, and literally like
a month later,
not even a month, bro. I got this place February 20th.
Oh.
And by March 12th, they shut us down. So I was all excited and everything, starting to get it up and running. But unfortunately, this whole COVID shit hit, and it's unfortunately caused a lot of grief for a lot of people. In reality, a lot of people are getting sick. So we really do need to take the precautions to, just wear the fucking mask, do the goddamn, things that you need to do to just get by your daily basis, so that you don't create more, just boiling up in the society. There's so much shit that's already boiling up from left and right, from all the politics, that you don't want to add on to that, and you don't want to bring any of that into your life. So, we're dealing with it in a way where it's like, okay, you know what? Great, we get more time to work on the place. Because when I got the place,
to approach it.
Yeah, when I got the place at first, it looked completely different than what it looks like now. And I had a certain aesthetic in mind that I specifically wanted, and it was way off from that aesthetic. So I knew that there was a lot of work to put into the place, and thankfully my dad has a lot of knowledge in contracting. He was a contractor for 15 years. So it really just took me and him going and getting the material, him pretty much building it out, and then me helping on the side, doing whatever I can do, whether it's painting, whether it's patching or whatever. But my dad put, his blood, sweat, and tears into the shop in terms of, the building and design aspect of it. I designed a lot of it and told him basically what to do where, and he just nailed it right on the head. So we've just been pretty much hammering away at that shop. Every time we finish a new part of it, we're like, you know what, let's add this now. Let's do this now. Let's modify this now. So the more they keep extending it, the more we're gonna keep spicing things up. Thankfully, in the past couple of years, while I was working hair in the hair industry, I also started experimenting with some other lines of work like art, and I started to, do spray paint, and I started to do like interior design and stuff. Just dabbling in it. It's just always stuff that I wanted to do. As when I was even growing up, I wanted to go to college for architecture and whatnot, but I never really went through with it. So now, that COVID kind of hit, and I'm not really able to work cutting hair legally. I pretty much just started to put more of my focus on into, the interior aspect of my business. And I'm just focusing on, doing more restaurants. We do a few restaurants out there. We do, I don't know if you've heard of Dave's Hot Chicken.
I
Dave's
was
Hot
going to talk
Chicken
to you about
is
that. Yeah.
our boys. We basically hit up all their restaurants. Me and my boy Demk together went in there and just pretty much from A to Z, we, like create the concept of the art in there. We install it. We do different types of installations and whatnot. So it's been a really fun ride doing all that. We did Brick and Flower. I don't know if you've heard of Brick and Flower. There's this place called Alchemy that was really dope. Hopefully they open up back soon after this COVID, BS goes through. But it's just been a lot of fun projects like that in the corporate, industry, like kind of businesses,
Yeah.
restaurants and whatnot, bars. But recently I've done a little bit more of houses and like a little bit more boutique businesses like my shop. So it's opened up a new gateway of business, and I've really enjoyed the process so far, and we've had some good success in it along with my team. I have a few people on my team now. My girl Katie, my friend Linda, and Demk is a part of the team as well. He does his thing. He's an artist, and he brings his spice to the table, and he knocks it all out. So we're gonna work together to create, a different part of Splatterhouse and allow it to manifest in people's lives in a different way, except through not a haircut, through
Yeah.
your furniture, through your home's vibe. You know what I mean? So
The new space that you guys have, it's a pretty interesting concept. How part of it, I'm sure you're already kind of envisioning, but in terms of the actual making making it actually happen, how
Mhm.
did that process go for you? So you obviously thought of it at some point, and then how was it actually assembling it, getting the spot, and then getting it organized how you want to? I know you're still in the process,
yeah,
but just A to Z, how's it been so far?
it's been definitely just throwing a lot of attention on it. Uh, attention to the detail, throwing money at it, just literally just making money, spending it
Yeah.
back on the shop. Doing what you can to like get and people come through and they give you like these crazy astronomical numbers for estimates. So you kind of have to do your due diligence and like make sure that you're not getting ripped off. Which with my personality, it's kind of like easy to get ripped off because I'm kind of like yeah for sure man, let's do it. Like I'm excited, and I kind of like give people the benefit of the doubt. But dude, like through this process, I kind of learned that like you really need to do your due diligence because people will come in and they'll give you a price that's like
BS.
5 times the price of something you could have gotten for one time price, and you're just like, okay, dude, I just fell on the lap of someone terribly fucking cruel
Mhm.
that just decided to torture me. So whatever. I think throughout the whole process, during the beginning time when I was first about to make the transition, I remember like working out of the garage on a Sunday by myself. It was the garage setting, but at the posi space. And it was like a chill Sunday, morning, like 8 a.m. And I remember thinking about it. I was like, damn, I was like, in like 2 months, I'm not going to have this luxury of being able to stand here without having to worry about too much overhead, without having to worry about like random people walking in and out of the shop, without having to, deal with any of that. I'm going to kind of lose this chapter of my
Yeah.
life where I'm able to kind of worry about my clients. The shop is like aesthetically, it's not a worry for me. I enjoy the hell out of brushing it up and making it look nice. That's what I love to do. So that's not a job for me, but still it was very kind of like, it wasn't like crazy overhead. We didn't have all this crazy shit going on with, being open to the public. We were still a very low key shop. We weren't open to the public. So moving into this shop, I knew that I was going to sacrifice a level of my, my privacy, my ability to, make a decision on the whim and be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to San Diego tonight or whatever, because at the end of the day I still have to be there to take responsibility for the group of people that are going to be operating inside this and vibing inside this and thriving inside this place, you know what I mean? So I do definitely remember thinking that, and I'm still very grateful that I got the opportunity to make this move. Unfortunately, like with this whole COVID thing, I think it is really unfair that our, like basically when we signed up was literally like a month before this whole shit went down. So I think it's pretty unfair that we have to deal with paying for like a space that's being rented to us based off of an old economic landscape that no
Oh, they
longer
haven't been
exists.
flexible.
I mean, flexibility in terms of being flexible with like whatever rules they're making them abide by. Yeah, they've been flexible, but in real terms, like we're never gonna get this lost time back, especially for people in my industry who were completely shut down. We're not gonna get this time back. We're not gonna be able to make this money back. You know what I mean? That we've lost. Which again, like if it wasn't for like the fact that I love to do what I do and I love every day of my life dearly, and regardless of whether or not, you know, I could make a killing off it or not, I want to do it and I enjoy it anyway. Like, what about all those people that just got into a business for the sake of just doing business? Which there's nothing wrong with that. That's
Hmm.
what you do business for, to make money. Which obviously us too. Like, there's monetary gain in this entire thing for us. Like, we love it, but if we loved it and we didn't make money doing it, we probably wouldn't love it because it would create a bad situation in our reality. So the fact that like we're basically paying for the price of something that no longer exists, I think definitely needs to be given some like attention from, I don't know, the president or whoever the hell can make something happen about some type of renegotiation for people who are basically locked into a 3 or 5 or 10 year lease based again off an old economic landscape that no longer really exists and realistically doesn't look like it's at the end of the tunnel yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no light at the end of the tunnel as of right now. They're still closing shit back down. The virus is still spreading. So, it's like, okay, how much longer are we supposed to last on this? I mean, I'm lasting right now. It's cool. They've, you know, basically told us that you can't work with no end in sight, but we're gonna try to last as much as you can. But what about all those people that weren't able to last? Like, did they deserve to get shut down because of all this? You know what I mean? They worked their asses off for years, for 5, 10, 15 years to be able to open doors on their own barber shops or their own salons or their own businesses. And, you know, COVID comes in and boom. In a matter of a couple months, anybody in the right mind would have been like, fuck this, I'm pulling the plug on this
Yep.
project. It's, sometimes it's better to cut your losses short.
Yep.
But I don't know, for me, thankfully, God's given me the health to be able to continue working and doing what I have to do to create the environment that I'm trying to create. And I just want to see it come to life.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want. That's been my dream. And I'm living the dream. That's 100%, fact. I consider myself living the dream in my perspective because my parents have their health, knock on wood. My wife has her health. My wife's parents have her health. My relatives, my loved ones, my cousins, my brothers, everybody I love, some in better shape than others, but I'm whole. You know what I mean? So there's nothing more to want at this point. It's just more of this health so that we can continue, going on about it our own way and trying to succeed as much as we can in our own way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Some people don't have that ambition. Great. There's no fucking shame in that.
Yeah.
They should monetary gain or monetary, like that chase. Like, I don't even fucking like that shit. When you start to make it about money, it becomes so limited. You know what I mean? You start capping everything off with like a number and it's about, oh, like how much can, it's like so many conversations in our community start off with the how much question. You know what I mean? How much this makes, how much, but it's like, who cares, bro? What life are you living? Are you okay? Are you enjoying your life? You know what I mean? Do you wake up hating 75% of your day because you've you've either constructed it that way or you've fallen into a situation where you have to deal with shit that you don't like dealing with on a daily basis? You know what I mean? But your life is fully customizable. You know what I mean? You have the full and whole right to do whatever the hell you want in your life, whatever the hell you want. So if you can find a way to exercise your discipline and at the same time get what you want, I'm pretty sure there's a common ground that you can find between what you want and what's realistic, and get that just by, daily incremental weight added to that side of the scale. Tip the scale a little bit more to that side of the, you know what I mean? That's
Right.
how I look at it. So yeah, man. I mean,
So with COVID especially impacting services like you guys. I know you kind of said like wear your mask, abide by whatever they're saying, so you can just kind of get through this thing. At the same time, is there a way that you find feasible for barbershops to be able to operate if X things are taken in place, or does it make sense to you? Like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. We should be closed.
Um, Honestly, man, with like all the other shit that's open, no, I don't agree with it at all because they allow you to like stand in line at a huge ass supermarket, go and touch a million things that a million other people touched. With the barber industry, we have 1,600 hours of like training for sanitation, for all these things that they're all these parameters that they're setting for us to use as guidelines to basically, make sure we're operating correctly. Those are things that we've been trained to do from the get-go. And yes, there's extra things that they're starting to implement and they have implemented for us to like do to avoid, contamination, like being especially 6 feet apart, which a lot of barbershops in the city, you walk in and it's like 2 feet apart from each other. So I understand those parameters that are being set, and it's for logical reasons. You know what I mean? The masks, like I
Hmm.
was wearing masks before this whole COVID shit happened, just because I would hate when people's hair would fly on my
Mm.
face, and sometimes I wouldn't wear it, but most of the time I would wear it for the past like couple of years. And a lot of people in our industry, they were starting to wear it, and it's just more comfortable whenever you have a mask on because you're a little bit more protected. But those things are just logical things that they need to implement, obviously, to make sure that they're doing whatever they can to protect the public health. You know what I mean? So I think again, man, like people that are bitching about it and whining about it and choose to not, like publicly cooperate with, you know, whatever the fuck is being demanded for you to be able to gain access to whatever you're trying to gain access to, then you're just making a scene, dude. Like if you can't wear your mask and you can't do that, let's say, then just don't go in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Find a different alternative because realistically, trying to start a war with the public right
Yeah.
now over a matter that's widely debated. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that all of that is pretty messy. But like these services, like nail salons, all of that, I can only imagine how difficult it is because especially like you have your big chains like the Fantastic Sam's, Supercuts, whatever. I don't know what nail salon chains there are if any, but like so many of them are like in general, but like a lot of those independent nails, like you for example, right? I think about like man, it sucks to be
yeah,
just a small business owner in general. It's already difficult
yeah,
just in a regular climate, and then you throw this on top, and then now certain ones can be open and then certain ones can't be open, for example you guys, and it's like, well crap man, like, and then they give you a little bit of hope. They're like, all right, we're open. And I remember I got one haircut while it was open, that opening window. And when I went, I had my mask on, he had his mask on, he had gloves on,
mhm.
and already like he always did this anyway, like spraying everything down, all this stuff. I'm like whatever, like if I gotta do this to get a haircut, then I'll do
That's
it,
cool,
whatever,
man. I mean, that again, bro, it's even better that's being done. You know what I mean?
yeah. But
Even the
then
precautions.
and then you got like what, like a month in? Was it about a
Yeah,
month or
about
something?
like a month and a half. Yeah,
Yeah, and then pull the
July.
plug
I
again.
think it was July.
Yeah,
Like first, they started like letting
yeah.
us, and then they.
And then it's just like,
Or no, June. Sorry,
yeah,
June. Yeah.
it's like I'm trying to like put myself in the shoes of these people, and it's like I can only imagine how
Yeah.
frustrating it is.
Underground haircuts, man. That's where it's headed. You know what I mean? People are gonna do it. You can't really
But I'm already
like,
aware of.
you
I've
know.
heard of these
I
places
mean,
already.
bro, like,
It's
what do
like
you expect people
there's
to
no
do?
way
You're not giving them an option, bro.
you're not gonna suppress it.
Yeah,
If they think it's not happening elsewhere,
yeah.
there's no
There's
way they thinking that. But like at least I guess for them it's like at least it's not in within our periphery. I can't see it, so whatever,
yeah,
it's fine. I don't know. That's a very difficult situation, and hopefully
yeah,
it works itself out soon enough.
yeah, man.
S I'm curious. So when you started doing it, you said you were testing on friends and stuff. So that one, if you messed it up, like you said, it's a little easier, right? Because it's a friend or a family member. But when you actually opened up shop, do you remember your first time with a random you messed up?
Um, Bro, I've never messed up in a way where it was like unfixable.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I've always kind of like, even with cutting people's hairs, like I experimented for the sake of learning. Obviously, I would watch YouTube videos and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot so that I can try different things whenever I'm cutting, and watch different people's videos that I followed in the industry. That I would see their techniques, and I would try to do that as well. But I did it with like you know safeguards
Mm.
so that if I fucked something up,
You can fix
I
it
could
some way.
somehow manage to fix it still.
Nice. That's smart.
So it was never to a point where like somebody looked at me and was like, "Dude, what the fuck did you do to my hair?" I think one of my friends, I gave him like a line in his head the size of my pinky, but that was like the worst thing I had
Yeah.
done, other than the cousin whose
Yeah.
sideburn I had gotten rid of. But um, I do remember like the first few haircuts. Definitely, it was like some random people that came through that I didn't even know, and the first few were actually being taken underneath my like in the front of my house. I had like a little plastic like what's it called? like a canopy
Uh-huh,
type thing.
uh-huh.
I just put like a propped up like a plastic chair and cut their hair in, under that canopy with like no lighting or anything. But you know, it was cool. They gave a positive reaction. They asked me to, you know, get them again.
Yeah.
So it definitely gave me the confidence, man. Like I
At that point, were you nervous or already kind of working on your cousins and friends already, where you felt more comfortable already doing it
I mean,
that
I
first
felt more
random?
comfortable, but I was definitely nervous just
Yeah.
because I was like, okay, this person is paying me. They have an expectation. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, you know, again, dude, like the whole banking experience thing allowed me to understand the structure of customer service and accommodation and follow up. You know what I mean? When I first started cutting hair out of my garage, I took it upon myself to kind of create my own scheduling. You know, I was using like this app. I think it was called like Scheduler. So
Hmm.
it wasn't really for barbers, but I was just using it basically hand scheduling each one of my clients that were hitting me up through text. And then on top of setting them up for an appointment when they would come in and get a haircut, I had created like a little template text that, you know, I would send to them with their name attached afterwards just to like follow up and get like an understanding of what they were happy with, what they
Right.
weren't happy with. And that was when I had kind of like learned to like really implement the idea of like following up with people, which is very important because it means a lot to a lot of people. And there's a reason for that. It's because it genuinely shows that you care.
Right.
And the follow up method that I implemented into my business early on in my, you know, career, even though it was out of a garage, it added this cool, you know, like accountability factor on my end and this professionalism that, you know, kind of yielded a more, I guess, aggressive return from the people that were
Right.
coming in. They were attracted to that. You know, they were attracted to the fact that they didn't have to call me a million times to get me on the phone to be like, hey, bro, like, can you cut my hair? People knew that if you texted me, like, especially in the beginning, I would not let people even wait. As soon as they texted me, even if it was during a cut, I would text them back, be like, hey, bro, I'll let you know what's up. But eventually it got to a point where I was scheduling by myself and it was packed so much that I couldn't, you know, schedule people fast enough to get them off my case for like the week. So I would tell them like, look, if you text me after Wednesday and I don't reply, just know that that week is full and you're on standby. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I can't like just sit there and reply to you telling you that I'm full because there's a million other people that are texting me
Right.
asking the same thing and I can't just do that for everyone. You know what I mean? So my clients were thankfully very like, you know, yielding as well. They worked with me on that. They understood, they were patient. The ones that weren't pieced out, God bless their souls. You know, like again, we're not for everyone, bro.
Yeah.
Like we try to, you know, create the environment that we want in our lives because like we're people too, you know. So we want to deal with people that we enjoy dealing with, you know what I mean? And kind of your clientele in barbering, cutting hair. I'm a cosmetologist by trade, but um you're like it kind of filters itself to clientele. You know, you have one dope client that comes through and usually they're attached to another dope client because they think the same way somewhat. So it's cool because, you know, it allows the clientele to kind of filter itself and be as relevant to your liking as possible. You know what I mean? If you put this type of clientele out there, that's the type of clientele that you're going to get in return. And
Right.
that's how it works, you know, all across the board, I think. So, yeah.
So we've covered a bunch of stuff. Honestly, I'm not even sure if there's an there. Well, let's see. So you- bunch of experiences, obviously, from banking to family business, through all of this, going through several different places, now dealing with current uh pandemic situation. So through all of this, is and given everything we've discussed, is there anything else that you can say was like a very difficult period of time for whatever reason that was like taking like a serious toll on you, but then you're eventually able to overcome it to continue on the path that you're on? Anything outside of what we've covered, do you think? Anything you can think of?
Yeah. During the time that I was working out of my garage still, the second garage, my mom started to like have some health issues and she was already away in Armenia. So and the house over there was kind of like in progress and whatnot. So there was like a really long break where basically my mom was kind of like in Armenia for about 8 or 9 months.
Hmm.
And she was there because she was treating her illness and at the same time she was kind of just managing the project of getting the house done because it was kind of starting to get dragged out so much because my grandpa's health obviously was, you know, uh, no longer there. He wasn't on top of it, so my mom kind of like took the, you know, project on and kind of went there and sacrificed, you know, time away from us
All right.
to do what she did and finish building the house. which was my, grandma and grandpa's dream for it to come to life. So, my grandma saw her dream come to life, and, my grandpa is still alive as well. And they're both happier that that came to life. So, my mom did that. She made that move for the family. But definitely during that time, it was difficult, just, being worried constantly about, her health,
Yeah.
worrying about her state of mind there, just missing her, realistically
It's a long
missing.
time.
It's a long time to be away, but again, we kind of just always reminded ourselves that it is what it is for a reason. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, at that time, like right after she came back from Armenia, um, my father got into like a really big accident, which was like the third of many accidents he's been in. But like he basically flew off a bridge with his truck, and he ended up out of the car somehow,
Oh
with a
crap.
pierced lung and like like fractured vertebrae, a few things that like kind of got banged up. But thankfully he was, after being hospitalized for like a few days, he was okay, and he was stable enough to like get on a plane and come. My brother went out there, it was overnight. I didn't even know it happened. And like I woke up to a message from my brother basically like, yo, this happened, and everything's fine, but I'm on my way there,
Yeah.
whatnot. So waking up to that nightmare of a text was kind of just like a straight,
Yeah, dude,
like,
I can only
check me
imagine.
check my reality, and like really put things in perspective, that like, first of all, that I'm so blessed that out of all this my dad came out alive and he's okay. But like, just that reiteration that you really have no whatsoever guarantee that of what's happening. Like we sit here and we talk about tomorrow and we plan it as if it's so sure, but the closest, I mean, the closest thing you have, I guess, to like perfect is right now. You get me? When you think about it, like right now is the closest you'll be to perfect, because you don't know what might happen tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tomorrow something might happen where something that makes you whole is no longer there, and you have to take the time to heal so that you can start enjoying the rest of the whole that is still there,
Right.
but you won't feel whole. You know what I mean? So it was just like a very firm, reminder that be very grateful for, the people around you. Give them as much attention as you can, and try to include them in your life, and include yourself in their lives as much as you can, because those are the people who you want to give your time to. You know what I mean? Like they want your time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a very very firm affirmation that like, just when your pops comes back, definitely do whatever you can to create the situation where more interactions can happen between you guys, more interactions can be happening between your mom. So I think that period of my life definitely was very defining, and I'm very blessed to be on the other side of it, and be thinking the way I think now about the subject, as opposed to the way I thought about it before, which was a little bit more from like an immature mind state. It was more like, well, like, why don't they do it? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
whatever I'm doing, like, but it's like, again, dude, these people have so much shit on top of raising you that they've done and they've dealt with. At the end of the day, they're people. So you know,
Yeah. Well, like I've like I said, I had already heard of you through our boys that some of my friends that get haircuts from you, and then so like I had heard of your progression in terms of like they'd come back from the shop, they're like, yeah, I just came from Arts Michael House. He's like, oh, it's good, you got a new spot, like as it changed, right? So now, given all this that we've talked about, and now that I've kind of been able to see inside your mind and you've shared all this, it's very evident and clear why you've been able to progress the way you've progressed, dude. Like if with this kind of
appreciate that,
mentality,
bro.
and it's not like, again, like it was a rose petal of a walk for you. Like you've had
Yeah,
your own crap handed to you, but you play with the hand you're dealt, and you've made it very clear you've done that. So again, your success, again, after everything you said, is no surprise now. Now that, again, first time we're talking, but uh, doesn't surprise me whatsoever that you're where you're at now. So I wish
we
the
know where you're at, baby.
yeah,
It's all good.
I
It's
wish
all it's all in progress.
yeah, I wish you the best with Splatter House. Hopefully, this crap blows over at some point, and
Appreciate
once
that, brother.
obviously you guys have all that stuff done to open up, and then because that sounds like a very cool concept. There's a lot of different stuff that's gonna be able to
Yeah, a
go
lot
on
of
there.
stuff, man. A lot of creative stuff,
Yeah,
and I can't wait for you and the rest of the gang and
for sure, dude.
everybody out in the public to
Yeah.
finally see what we're about.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So go ahead, let us know where can people find you, socials, websites, whatever you want to share. We'll throw it down there, but go ahead, let us know too.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, on Instagram, I mean, I have my page where mine is Eyes Behind Art, and that's my page, my personal page, where I post some of my personal projects, art related, family, and then I have my Splatterhouse page, which is pretty much
Just
where
at Splatterhouse, right?
at
On Instagram.
Splatterhouse,
Yeah,
and house is spelled H-A-U-S, so SPLATTERHAUS.
cool.
So you go on there and you'll see some of the content that we create geared towards some of the things that go on. I don't like to put too much stuff online because personally, like the whole documentation aspect of content for me, unless it's being done with like a group of people, which like sometimes it's hard to get a group of people just to create content and
Mhm.
whatnot. We're not really like that prioritized on
Right.
that aspect yet, and I don't really like to take time away from my now while
Yeah.
I'm experiencing time with a client or with somebody else
Which
there
is fair.
to take a picture of it, which I mean, like
No, I think that's fair.
I personally like to do that
Yep.
way more than take a picture of it. But soon I promise we'll start to take more pictures and
Yeah.
more videos and create more content geared towards what actually goes on inside this
Yeah.
Splatterhouse. So because there's a lot more than just haircuts, that's for sure. We definitely have like a bunch of creatives that fortunately are coming in with a lot of good energy that can't wait to express their creative outlet in our space, and we can't wait to see that manifest the way they have it intended. So
Yeah, dude, the videos you've been sharing, the space looks really sweet. So
thank you, man.
yeah,
I
we're
appreciate that, bro.
we're all
Appreciate
pumped
that.
to see it, man.
I wish the same for you and your gang. This,
Appreciate it.
this,
Yeah, thanks
you
for the
know,
compliments.
of course,
We
man.
we like hearing the positive feedback, so
No, it's
appreciate
been
it,
an
dude.
awesome experience. Thank you guys for hosting me.
You got
Thank
it.
you guys for taking interest in my life, and
Of course,
I'm
dude,
glad
of
that I
course.
could be of any help to you guys and giving a
Big time.
perception of what it's been like. So I hope it helps.
Definitely,
If
dude.
anybody listening to this wants to reach out and would like to come through and see what we're about, please make that 100% happen. I'm more than open to meeting new people that have a creative interest or any interest in anything that we're doing. Come through.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, we'll put all that info in the description so they can hit you up.
Cool.
Great. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Appreciate you,
it,
man.
dude.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.